I remember when I was 26 years old, still working at the corporate planning firm where I modeled policies for corporations and executive benefit planning, but I had also started to work on the side, leads people who are interested in high cash value life insurance. And I remember an older gentleman named Larry. He was 65 when he started a policy, but he wanted to pay $1 million into a policy. I'm at a point in my career where things are starting to pick up, and then I call someone, I'm talking to him, and he says, I want to pay $1 million into this policy. Can I just write you a check or write the insurance company a check and send it on in and be done with it? I'm 26, finally starting to get going. I'm like, oh, this is huge. I'm all excited. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, Steve, stay calm. Remember, you always have to treat the client exactly the same, go through your process, educate them on what they want, ask questions, do things properly. But I was excited. I'm a young kid. I was trying to get married. Actually, I think at that point in time, I may have been engaged or I was about to ask my wife if she would marry me. I remember one day I'm at home talking to my dad about this case. I'm like, yeah, I just talked to a guy. He's selling an apartment complex. He's going to have about $800,000. My dad's on the couch. He goes, $800,000 to put in a policy? What? Because I was new in the business and he still may have not thought I was going to make it. He saw me putting in time, but he knew it was a tough business. But I remember that reaction. He kind of like jumped out of the couch, off the couch for a little bit. But with this case, the interesting piece is Larry was 65 when he started the policy. And his specific question was, hey, I've got $1 million. Can I make a one-time payment into the policy? I'm interested in this whole life insurance product for the following reasons. I see that it is a safe area to position money that's not in the stock market. I want nothing to do with the stock market. It's liquid. Larry had been successful, he still is successful with real estate investing. He's into multifamily units, owns apartment complexes. He's very successful. That's where he makes his money. And he was interested in a cash value life insurance policy as a means to position this capital instead of just sitting in a bank account when he's looking at deals, but he's got the capital. He wanted to put it into a policy instead, actually see it grow, have the tax benefits, and then take advantage of it, borrow against the policy, or leverage it for a collateral loan to obtain real estate. And he has used his policy so many times over the years, and we've seen him do very well. But he's got $1 million in cash. Here's what I want to touch on, because so many people are interested in cash value life insurance. He was interested, again, in the safety and the liquidity. Also the fact that it's tax-free if he does everything right. But what he was not attracted to one bit was the thought or idea of having to make payments forever. I remember him saying, hey, can I just write you a check, $1 million? The dividend rate with the company that he selected was MassMutual back in 2015, 7.1%. Now, a couple things. He thought, hey, if I just write you a check for $1 million, goes into a MassMutual whole life insurance policy, that's earning 7.1% right off the bat. I should see how much in interest? 7%, about $71,000 in the first year, which is not the case. Because with the whole life insurance policy, while we do have that dividend rate, remember that anytime you see a dividend rate on a life insurance policy, the same is consistent with the guaranteed rate, that is a gross rate that is credited after the company's insurance expenses. What I want to look at is the net internal rate of return, the actual growth over time. So Larry said, can I just write a check for $1 million because that will yield me the most money? And then I love this concept of borrowing against it at 5%. That was the loan rate. I'm earning 7.1. I've got a loan rate of 5%, positive 2.1% spread, which really wasn't the case. And we've got other content where we talk about that dividend rate being a gross rate. If I have a dividend of 7.1%, my net return on cash value might be around 5% or so after the company pulls out their insurance expenses and such. And we've got, again, other content on that. So his question was, can I just give you $1 million up front? And the answer, to be completely transparent, is yes, you can do that technically with a policy. You can make a one-time payment, have it be a non-MEC. You could see your cash value kind of sort of grow over time, but it doesn't make sense. It makes sense to spread it out. So before we look at Larry's actual policy, what we're going to look at here is the policy setup. So when it comes to making a lump sum payment, common sense would tell me if I've got a product paying a 7.1% dividend, if it's not life insurance, and I just throw $1 million in, that should start to compound right away. Because at the time, his bank account's earning 0.7% or whatever it was. Wasn't that attractive? So policy setup. When I pay money into a policy, if you're going to pay $1 million or $1, where can your money go? Toward one of two areas. It can go first toward the insurance premium, or second, toward the PUA rider. And we'll often refer to this as a cash dump-in because it shows up in cash value right away. It's money I can access. This is the key to accelerating the cash value piece of a life insurance policy. So let's take a look at this, just a lump sum option. So we're going to look at just a generic example. Then we're going to look at Larry's actual policy, a $1 million payment on a 60-year-old male. Here we go. So $1 million goes into the policy. 3 different options. We have $1 million going into the policy in one payment, a one-time lump sum, then broken up over 3 years and broken up over 5 years. So if I am you, if I'm the consumer, regardless of my age, this is on a 60-year-old male, this applies to a 75-year-old male and also a 35-year-old male. There's some differences, but same concept. If I'm you, I want to understand how do I maximize the cash value, the efficiency of that product? This way I can do what Larry did. Remember what Larry's goals were? Steve, I want a safe area to position my money and I want it liquid. Oh, and by the way, the third benefit, tax-free, I'll take that too. So what do we see in option 1? Annual outlay. This is his total out of pocket, a $1 million payment. First year, he has what? Just about $900,000 in cash value. Annual outlay represents his actual payment each year. 0 forever. What this base premium is on the left, that is the underlying base premium that's still due, but he's not paying it. Now often, wherever I set my base premium, the insurance company will allow me to 10x that. If I'm making a $1 million payment, we can make it a little bit more aggressive. We stretched it to the limit, like we do with all policies and all companies. And when I say stretch to the limit, reducing that premium, because premium dollars do not show up in cash value in the first year, and sometimes in the first and second year, depending on the company and product. But here, squeeze the premium down as low as I can, get everything else toward cash value. You've got just about $900K. Next year, he pays nothing. What do we see with the cash value? Grows from $897 to $907. If I look at the actual earning rate that year, first year, he paid in $1 million, he had about 900. That's where the negative 10% hit is. So I've got a dividend rate, but the net return in the first year, because I have less cash value than what I paid in, is negative. Year 2, pays in nothing, grows by about 10 grand, so I see 1%. But here's where it gets interesting. Look what happens each year. Returns become negative for a little bit. The reason why, and this can be confusing at times, is this base premium over here, call it the insurance expense, is due for at least the first 7 years on the majority of whole life insurance policies. This has to do with what's called a MEC test, which is, I've got my MEC limit on a life insurance policy, that taxable line. Another name for my MEC test or MEC limit is my 7-pay test. It has to do with the first 7 years of a life insurance policy. Basically, my death benefit has to stay at a certain level, and the premium and death benefit have a direct relationship with each other. So basically, whether I'm paying the premium or not, that premium will be due for 7 years, like what I see in this example. So I've got the premium due, but I'm not paying it. He can, but we'll assume, hey, I don't want to have to pay anything here. So he doesn't. Cash value comes down when I see the returns negative. By year 7, I've got $850K in cash value. Not that attractive. I paid in $1 million. I have a $150,000 loss. I'm like, no, I don't want that. This doesn't make sense. So why this is good to be aware of is when I think of a lump sum payment, if I see a whole life insurance product and a dividend rate from that company, you make that payment. What are you expecting as the consumer? To earn that dividend, that interest. The thing is, we want to remember what's the actual insurance expenses, and to simplify, what's the net growth? Like, this is what I like to look at to simply know, what's my money growing by? Simplifies things. So then what we did was look at options where we spread the $1 million out, which allows us to lower the death benefit, lower the premium, lower the insurance expenses, and we see a world of difference. Total of $1 million goes in. Look at this. He's got his $1 million back by year 4. In this example, we did it over 5 years. By year 4, he's paid in $800,000. He has $800,000. Year 5, he's got a bit more. This guy, the 5 pay actually made the most sense. When I look at the 3 pay, they're not too far apart from a performance standpoint, but what I will mention is when I look at the guaranteed values, this guy's way more attractive, the 5-year fund, and we've got some lump sum studies on that as well. So let's go back to Larry's story. So before we do that, what I wanted to touch on here was when I look at a lump sum payment, a one-time payment is not the most efficient strategy. And that was something we took a lot of time going over with Larry, showing him the numbers, not just explaining it, because obviously this stuff can be a little complex, and some could say very complex. So, what Larry ended up doing is this. He set up a policy at age 65 where he paid in $200,000 per year for 5 years. Okay, that was his plan. Now, what I will mention is he's heavily used the product for real estate. So some years he paid in $200,000, some years he paid in $100,000. There's 1 year he paid in about $50,000, then made a big $300,000 catch-up payment. He has made a total, or I should say a total contribution amount thus far of over $1.1 million. Things have continued to produce for him, so he's wanted to continue to pay money in. Now, at this stage in his life, he's going on 73 years old, he's still involved to a degree with real estate, but his sons and sons-in-law really have inherited the business where now they take care of everything. My point is, he doesn't really want to pay into the policy. We're going to show him options, but where he's at now, 2021, how's the policy actually performed? Let's have some fun here. So, as we look at the policy, what I want to see, entering policy year 8, total payments, and these include premium and PUA payments. These do not include any loan repayments he's made. Since he's borrowed from the policy, paid the loan back, paid loan interest to the insurance company, while his money has continued to compound, and we've got other models, plenty of videos on that. But here's his total payments. So by year 8, what do we see here? This is his actual policy, by the way, which is always good to see this. We can see some real results. And he started at age 65. He was positive between years 5 and 6. That was his break-even point, just about year 5. And you can tell because year 8, he's already got north of a $100,000 gain. It's about $111,000 if I look at the total payments compared to the cash value. Now, nothing goes in, and this is an in-force illustration. Option A represents minimizing the death benefit to maximize the cash value. So one of the things Larry said when we first connected was, Steve, I don't care about the death benefit. I don't need it. I've got other assets. I've got my real estate that's income producing. Like the life insurance piece, I'm not interested right now. That was at age 65. The cash value, I'm interested in. That was his point of interest. So this option really emulates or displays what he wanted to do originally, where what we did is cut the base premium, cut the term insurance, there's almost no term left on it, but we reduced the insurance expenses to the minimum, which reduced the death benefit to 1.8, almost 1.9 million. What this does, I'll refer to that as cutting the drag. So to give a little bit more information, he's got about a $28,000 premium that's due each year. If he doesn't want to pay it, he can elect to have the policy pay for the premium on its own, or he can get rid of it by exercising this RPU, which stands for reduced paid up. We're just getting rid of the premium, which is exactly what this option is. So we cut the insurance expenses, and there's your cash value. Keeps on growing over time. If we look at age 80, he's almost at 1.7 million. And you'll notice here we're starting at policy year 8 because he's 8 years into the policy. So we didn't go back to year 1. We could, if I pull all the original values and input them on there, we might do that in the future. But this is moving forward, an in-force illustration. Year 8, about 1.67. Death benefit, almost 2.2 million. Back to where it is today. The middle example is same thing with 0 out-of-pocket payments, same total outlay, 1.1 million, but here we're maintaining the death benefit. We're not minimizing it like we are in this example. And what you'll see, things still appreciate, but look at this death benefit here. That's the big difference. So let's do this to make it a little bit easier because all these numbers can be difficult to follow sometimes. Let's have some fun with this. Here we go. So why don't we look at the cash value difference. Good. Let's make this bold green. So what I want to see here, if I'm him, because we like to show options to everyone we work with as time passes. On the example where I minimize the death benefit, I see a slight reduction in cash actually when I compare the two, but it quickly takes off. Good. And then what I also want to do is see the death benefit difference. All right. What I'll do here, quick difference, this year will be exactly the same. So this is interesting. What we've got going on here, just comparing these two. Give ourselves some more space. Cash value difference. So this shows the difference between the two. If I minimize the death benefit in this example, what I see is the cash value actually for about 3 years, because I have a dividend reduction if I minimize the death benefit, is a little bit less. But here's what I'm really interested in. Let's look at the same thing, age 80. How much more do I have in value? About $33,000 greater in cash value. If I look at age 85, what's the difference? About $100,000 greater in cash value. If I look at the death benefit, comparing again this one to this one. Age 80, in the example where I minimize the death benefit, initially, that gives me a $330,000 hit, that much less in life insurance. By age 80, I've got $33,000 more, but I have about $115,000 less in life insurance. Now, if I look at 85, he's interested in this option because it cuts the expenses and gives him more money. He's got $100,000 greater in cash value, but also almost another $50,000 additional in death benefit. I know we're digging deep here, but this is one of the things we like to do for people we are working with before meaning before they buy a policy and afterwards during review meetings and as time passes, in the event things change or life happens, what pivots or adjustments can I make over time? Now, if he becomes very concerned about the death benefit and he never wants to see it drop below 2.2, that's where this option could be very suitable. But again, now he sees the different options and can select the policy, or I should say the option he's most comfortable with, because this is the exact same policy, he's 8 years into it. And then as we look at the last option, if he wants to keep making payments, so his minimum premium was about $28,000, his MEC limit was $200,000, so he had very close to a 1090 split. He was just max funding that for a long time. Now we see what? Well, if he keeps paying into it, which he has the option to do so, and he's expressed that he might do that, look at that cash value just keep growing. Same thing with the death benefit over time. And we see this quite a bit. Typically, one will start a policy and they have a plan to fund it with a lump sum, but then their premium's so low, if it was set up right, they say, you know what, can I keep adding money into this? And the answer is yes, you absolutely can. And the advantage to that is if I continue to add money to the product, what happens? Well, obviously I see more cash value, but the death benefit, how are death benefit proceeds paid out? 100% income tax free. Leaving perpetual wealth inside the family. So going to the next generation, having them set up with policies so they do the exact same thing with a portion of those death benefit proceeds. We see a lot of families do that. We see the ultra wealthy do it, but you don't have to have a humongous net worth in order to do it. It's a nice option that's available and we can build awareness over time. It depends on you really. Do you care about the death benefit or not? But with this example, I mean, that's exactly what we want to know if we're looking at a lump sum. How do I set it up where I get the most efficiency out of my dollar? And then what's it look like as time passes? When I'm done funding it, do I not care about the death benefit and minimize it initially for greater long-term value, which typically that makes a lot of sense? Or do I keep that option open to keep paying into it, keep on funding it? That policy performed beautifully, and they all do. If I'm set up with one of the 4 major mutual companies and I have a policy designed with a minimal premium, which by the way copies what the ultra wealthy, the elite, big banks and corporations do, if you do that, you will see a policy that is very flexible, but will give you the best bang for your buck, the greatest overall value. So know that one was deep, had some information in there. If you have any questions, reach out anytime. We always like to connect, and as always, I hope this helps. Hey guys, Steve Parisi here. If you enjoyed the content you just saw, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for future videos. If you'd like more information or to see some custom policies for yourself, feel free to call or email our offices at the contact information below.